Imagine you're watching the news. The anchor says, markets could crash 40% this year. Then a second anchor says, markets could rise 15% this year. Which one sounds more intelligent? If you're honest, the first one does. The prediction of doom feels wise, cautious, and serious. The prediction of growth feels naive, risky, and a little bit foolish. That instinct is not a sign of smart thinking. It's a psychological trap that costs ordinary investors more money than any market crash ever will. There's a concept in behavioral finance called the seduction of pessimism. It's the reason bad news grabs our attention and good news barely registers. It's why you can remember every market crash from the last 50 years, but can't recall a single year when the market quietly went up. Pessimism sounds like protection. Optimism sounds like salesmanship. But here's the devastating truth. The market has risen in roughly 70% of all years. The long-term trend has always been up. If you had bet on pessimism every year, you would have been wrong almost 3 out of 4 times. So why does pessimism feel so right, even when it's usually wrong? The first reason is that loss is more painful than gain is pleasurable. Your brain gives more weight to avoiding a loss than to achieving a gain. So a warning about a crash triggers your survival instinct, while a calm prediction of growth triggers nothing. The second reason is that pessimism is specific and vivid. A crash prediction comes with a story. The debt bubble will burst. Geopolitics will derail everything. Optimism is vague. Things will probably work out over time. The story wins every time. The third reason is the hardest one to accept. Pessimism allows you to feel smart without taking action. You can sit in cash, shake your head at the reckless investors, and feel superior. But that superiority has a massive price tag. Every year you stay out of the market waiting for the next crash, you miss the quiet, boring gains that compound into real wealth. The investors who build fortunes are not the ones who predicted the last crash. They're the ones who stayed invested through all the predictions that never came true. Think about it this way. If you had listened to the most famous crash predictions of the last 20 years and sold your investments each time, you would have missed one of the greatest wealth-building periods in history. The pundits who made those predictions, they kept their jobs, wrote another book, and moved on to the next scary forecast. You, on the other hand, would have paid the real price. So how do you protect yourself from the seduction of pessimism? First, zoom out. When you hear a terrifying prediction, look at a 50-year chart of the market. That long upward line is reality. The scary headlines are just noise on top of it. Second, change your question. Instead of asking, what if the market crashes? Ask, what if the market doesn't crash and I miss the recovery? That second question is where the real risk lives. Third, accept that feeling a little foolish as part of the process. Optimism in the face of scary headlines will always feel naive. Do it anyway. The world has survived wars, pandemics, depressions, and countless other catastrophes. Every single time, the pessimists sounded smarter, and every single time, the optimists ended up wealthier. The question is not whether the next scary story will come. It will. The question is whether you'll let it talk you out of your own future. The seduction of pessimism is powerful, but it's a seduction you can learn to resist.